This is the new base model for the Skoda Scala, the Select 85 TSI, and it sees some changes to its design and features list, which might make it the most appealing base model hatchback if you're after an urban dweller that also has European roots. There are two models for the Skoda Scala, and the model on test here is the Select, which is the base model. This replaces the previous base model, the Ambition, and is also $1,100 more affordable. You also get a few extra features now as standard. This offers great value for money because it's positioned in the middle of its rivals. The new base model enjoys front parking sensors, keyless entry and start, front parking sensors, upgraded USB-C ports, and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. However, it does miss out on a few items that used to be standard, like adaptive cruise control, floor mats, and the old 10.25-inch instrument panel has now been replaced by an 8-inch screen. But the full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The new Scala sees a redesigned black grille with slim LED headlights and refreshed 17-inch alloys, as well as an extended rear windscreen. It's a really handsome design that more than holds its own against its European rivals, but I like that it's not too cutesy looking, because sometimes hatchbacks can fall victim to that. Head inside and you get something that looks fairly similar to its cousin, the Volkswagen Polo, with a sharply designed dashboard and air vents, but this is softened by lovely fabric panels and soft touch points throughout. The tech screens look high-end, and the fabric seats look much nicer than the usual black stuff you get in base model variants. Also, the traditional elements like the gear shifter and handbrake add a certain charm as well. Access and space is really good for the front. You do jostle for elbow room when you have a co-pilot, and the armrest is annoyingly sloped, so you do tend to slide off it, unfortunately. The seats themselves are really comfy. They've got thick padding, long seat bases, and the manual lumbar support is much needed on a longer journey. The storage is about average for the class. I like that you get a sunglasses holder and dedicated drink bottle holders in the doors, as well as a phone and wallet storage cubby in front of the gear shifter. Charging options are good with 2 USB-C ports and a 12-volt socket. Unsurprisingly, you do miss out on a wireless charging pad, but I didn't miss it this week. The touchscreen multimedia system is simple and easy to use. It's responsive, and while it doesn't have a lot of customizations available or features like SatNav, the wireless functionality for that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto makes it feel modern. Although the wireless bit for the Apple CarPlay at least did drop out a lot on me this week, so I did use wide most of the time. For a hatchback, this has great head and legroom, and even taller occupants are going to be happy back here. The seat comfort is also really good with extra thick padding and long under thigh supports. Storage and amenities are very good for a base variant. You get directional air vents, 2 USB-C ports, 2 map pockets, 2 device holders, and storage bins in each door. You do miss out on an armrest with cup holders, which I always like as a rear passenger, but overall it's pretty good back here. The boot has 467 litres of capacity available, which is class leading and rivals some larger cars. I like that you get a 60-40 split in the rear row, which meant that on a road trip this week, it was very easy to fit the golf clubs and all the luggage that we needed. You get a temporary space saver spare tyre underneath the floor, and although you don't get a powered tailgate in this model, you won't miss it. It's not a hard lid to operate, and you get a handy toggle to pull it down. The Scala Select is a front-wheel drive and has a 1-litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine that produces up to 85 kilowatts of power and 200 newton meters of torque. It has a 7-speed auto transmission, and while most of its rivals have peppier engine outputs, surprisingly, this is enough to move this little car around, and it gets even more spirited when you put it into sports mode. I love driving hatchbacks because they always feel like a dodgem when you drive them, and what's not fun about that? This in sports mode definitely delivers the most pep when it comes to power delivery, but even when it's not in sports mode, there's still enough power for it to be a pleasant open roader. And while it's not zippy, it still earns a fun badge. The steering is light without feeling loose, and this is pretty nimble when it comes to cornering or tight city car parks. Visibility is good in this. If you do have a taller passenger or a car seat installed in the back, it does wipe out your view a little bit, but outside of that, I feel like I've got really good clear visibility all around. I've had some shocking weather this week with pretty much everything but hail, and this has not skipped a beat. I have felt really confident with how sure-footed it felt when I was in corners or just changing lanes. It's a really nice one to drive. Ride comfort is surprisingly really good. Sometimes in base models it can feel a little bit rough, but this, smooth with the suspension, and you don't get a lot of road noise in this either. A little bit creeps in at higher speeds, but basically it's a very quiet, refined cabin. This is a really easy car to park, as most hatchbacks are. The reversing camera is not the clearest, but very welcome in this model, and you get dynamic guidelines, which is great. This base model also gets front parking sensors as well as rear, which really rounds out the parking experience overall. The new Scala base model has almost hybrid-like fuel efficiency, and its official combined fuel cycle figure is a low 5.4 litres per 100 kilometres. Compared to its actual hybrid rival, the Toyota Corolla, which gets 4 litres, this is not too far off. And based on its 50-litre fuel tank, you should see a theoretical driving range of up to 925 kilometres, which is very respectable. After doing a mix of open road and city driving this week, my real-world usage has popped out at 5.7 litres per 100 kilometres, which I think is an excellent result, especially considering I haven't been shy with utilising its power, and I've had a big road trip where I had a lot of gear on the back. The Skoda Scala has a maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating from testing done in 2019. It does only feature 6 airbags though, which is low for this day and age, but you get all the biggies like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. Like I mentioned, you do miss out now on adaptive cruise control and a driver's knee airbag, but the full safety specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au. The Scala is offered with a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is good for the class. You can also pre-purchase a 7-year servicing pack for a flat $3,650, which is very competitive. Servicing intervals are good at every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, whichever occurs first. And you also get roadside assistance as a part of your servicing package if you service on schedule. The new Skoda Scala Select proves that base models can be well equipped and have a great price tag, which is not always the case for a base model. Driving experience isn't always the most exciting compared to its rivals, but it's still a great urban dweller nonetheless, and that's why it gets the score that's on your screen now. If you're after more details, check out my full written review at carsguide.com.au, and I'll see you next week.